Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Monday, May 7th, 2018. We got lots to go over today. I'll go ahead and get started. Take a look at our solar wind speeds. We're still up at 622.2 kilometers per second with a density of 6.7. Take a look at our star. We still have AR 2708. It poses no threat for solar flares and is still decaying. Sunspot number 14. So far for 2018, 73 days without a sunspot. Let's take a look at our KP indices. Right now we're sitting at a 2 with a 24-hour max of 4. Now, we did have geomagnetic storms over the weekend, and we did have a brief G2 when KP indices did hit 6. Now, let's take a look at the coronal hole here on the SDO. As you see, the bigger part of this is now turning away from Earth, and we still should deal with some slightly inclined solar winds over the next couple of days from this as well. Take a look at the SDO in motion. We do have a couple of active regions to take a look at, but it does seem that this one is also decaying if you look at the 9 o'clock position at the equatorial region. But as we get towards the end of this run, you can see that we have more active regions coming around the bend on the eastern limb of the sun. So we'll keep our eyes on that as well. And taking a look at the TSI readings, now this one comes in for April 29th. We are sitting at a 1360.785. So these values are a little bit higher than what we've been used to seeing, but only by a few tenths. As of late, we've been at the 1360.6 values, but just recently stepped it up to the 0.785. And here's a nice website today that was thrown in my direction, thanks to one of our GSM chat members in the Discord, SPACEWEATHERlive.com. And it's just another way to kind of monitor the Grand Solar Minimum. Now, you're probably thinking, well, you have a website as well, but we do. And I also think it's important to go to websites that specialize in certain things. And this is really good about the solar cycle progressions, kind of breaks everything down, shows us what's forecasted, where we're at right now. But again, I can't thank the person who contributed this today, because there's some things on here I wasn't aware of. Like, let's take a look at 2018. Of course, we're in a minimum, so the number of C, M, and X class flares are virtually non-existent right now. As you see, 2017, we had 237 C class flares. And there's another stat that I wanted to show everybody too. It also talks about geomagnetic storms and the lack of that we've had so far. Check it out, guys. So far, we've had 3 minor G1s in 2018, and in 2017 we had around 37 with 12 G2s and 2 severe G4s, and I do believe those were in September of 2017 as well. So really neat little site here. Just gives you a few more data sets to look at that some of these other websites may not have, and this is a really good layout of everything in the graphs. Very easy to follow. Link will be in the description for this. And Starman sent this to me the other day. Now, I think the reason why, it's an older article, but it does hit home here, and the headline itself does it justice. Solar wind loses power, hits 50-year low. Now, this was from 2008. And it goes on here to show a little bit about the Ulysses project that we were talking about. We've talked about before, actually, on this channel. But there was an area that I really wanted to show everybody before. Oh, where did it go? I don't want to go too fast either. Well, I just totally bombed that, folks, because I thought I had something here. Ah, yes, here we go. Unpublished Ulysses cosmic ray data shows that indeed high energy electrons, a minor teletat component of cosmic rays around the Earth, have jumped in number by about 20%. Now, this was back from 2008. These extra particles pose no threat to Earth's surface. Our thick atmosphere and planetary magnetic field provide additional layers of protection that keep us safe. Here's the key part that I wanted to discuss. But any extra cosmic rays can have consequences. If the trend continues, astronauts on the moon or en route to Mars would get a higher dose of space radiation. Robotic space probes and satellites in high Earth orbit face an increased risk of instrument malfunctions and reboots due to cosmic ray strikes. Also, there's controversial studies linking cosmic ray flux to cloudiness and climate change on Earth. That link may be tested in the years ahead. Now, this is just saying what we've already shared on this channel a few different times. I shared an article back on the 12th of April that said, "Time will tell, shut up or put up." And again, this article is also referring the same thing, but the important part of this article here, not only just the fact that we will see in time what the truth really holds for us when it comes to these studies and its controversies, such as the climate effect it has, but what we're seeing here is they're telling us if we have any extra cosmic rays, it could be harmful to people, our astronauts in space, whether it be going to the moon or even Mars. And, you know, we hear a lot lately talking about, you know, planned manned missions to Mars. And now we're starting to wonder, how safe is space travel going to be during these next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, however long that we see these effects for. And this is another one of those time will tell issues where we will start to see the results here within the next 5 to 10 years. But there is starting to become a louder drumbeat when it comes to mission in space and the concern of our astronauts' health. Again, I'll leave the link in the description. It's still a good article. Again, the information is solid and sound, just like we've been saying from the get-go. And this shows it right here. How James Hansen and Michael Mann Destroyed Climate Science. Now, this one's by Tony Heller. Everybody knows who that is. Good guy. Knows his stuff. I always enjoy reading his articles just because he's, you know, very to the point, shows us what we're looking at. These graphs here are basically helping people connect the dots. I also read something where Tim Ball had talked about this individual, Michael Mann, and how there's been some lawsuits that have been brought about because of this person. But if you guys take a look at the information that's put together here, and it brings up some good points here. TSI and sunspots are only part of the solar climate story. Comets have two tails because there are at least two different types of energy being emitted from the sun: photons and ionized particles known as solar wind. And here's a great diagram that kind of breaks it down how we get affected by solar wind, guys. The Earth's magnetic field protects us from solar wind, directing the charged particles towards the poles, where they release energy as the northern and southern lights. Without magnetic field surrounding Earth, our planet would be unlivable. And that's a little scary because we've talked so much about the weakening magnetic field of the sun, the weakening magnetic field around Earth. So we know that if we don't have the magnetic field, you know, the planet Earth is not livable. But how much of a weakening magnetic field can humans, animals, plant life, how much radiation can we endure? And that's something that we don't really talk about enough because, you know, it's not that we're trying to be fear here, but it's a little bit concerning when you hear this and you hear how weak the magnetosphere is nowadays. Talking about the aurora borealis with the north and southern lights. You know, I like it when or not like it, but I think it's funny when I read on SPACEWEATHER.com about these people that talk about, you know, we're in a solar minimum. I can't believe how many, you know, northern lights they're witnessing during a minimum. And I've always, I don't know if it's just me or maybe I'm wrong, but I've always known that, you know, as long as there's solar wind affecting our planet Earth, that we're going to see northern lights. And anytime we typically see, like right now, of course, the more intense the solar wind is, the better you'll see the aurora. So I'm not understanding why some of these people talk about it's a minimum, we shouldn't see this many northern lights, but that's not the case at all. And this little diagram here does a really good job of showing us how solar wind works, entering and exiting through the north and south poles. Again, it's a current, it's electrical current. Link will be in the description as well. And then here is another little paper that I wanted to throw at everybody too that I just kind of stumbled across. I don't think we've covered this one. They don't give you the full paper here, but they do give you a preview of this, and I'll just read the abstract. One of the most important problems facing humanity, global climate change, is discussed. The roles of cosmic ray fluxes and solar activity in this process are analyzed. Although several mechanisms explaining global climate change have been proposed, none of them are firmly grounded. At the United Nations Summit in Paris at the end of 2015, it was decided that greenhouse gases are responsible for the global warming of our planet. However, the authors of this work believe the question of what causes global changes in Earth's climate remains open and will obviously be solved once and for all in the next 10 to 15 years. So another article, another paper that resonates the same story. We'll just have to wait and see if you don't want to believe the information that all of these renowned scientists are working on right now to bring us the evidence that we are heading into a very deep minimum period, and we're going to experience some cooling, and it's not going to be at the rate of 0.03 Celsius above baseline. It's going to be much more than that. Bitter fruit harvest fruit farmers in Kuman claim severe crop loss due to damage caused by rains. This is not the only early story I have with this. Showers, hail, freak thunderstorms, which have been lashing out since last week, have dashed the hopes of fruit farmers in Kumanon, who claim that they are staring at a severe crop loss because of the rain. The damage has been most marked in the fruit belt of the region, in places like Ramgarh and Ramagarh, which are also known for plum, guava, and pear production. According to the state horticulture department, the lychee production in the area was estimated to be around 92 metric tons, while mango production was estimated to be around 32,000 metric tons. On the basis of the flowering trends, apple productions was around at 9,000 metric tons, but after the rains, farmers say the output would go down considerably. A mango farmer told TOI that healthy fruit developed naturally in the orchard under normal condition is worth more in the market, whereas after getting battered by hail, the fruits fetch less than 70% of their rate, even at local markets. That is devastating. And another area, again, in India, and I'm just trying to wrap my head around this because, and I was going to put some articles earlier in this broadcast to read out because there's so many of them almost on a daily basis where Indian farmers the suicide rate is off the charts. It's sad. I had one story that I was going to read that talked about that one guy killed himself. Another guy saw the damage from the rains to his field and had a heart attack and died at the hospital. So it's strange to me that there's so much pressure on these farmers, or maybe it's just because in the part of the world they live in that their government can't afford to cover the losses like some countries can. So, honor is big in certain places, everywhere. I think it's big everywhere, but I think some places pride and honor are bigger than others. And I think the thought of someone who is trying to raise a family or produce for their family, maybe they provide for their entire family, who knows? But the thought of them not being able to come through and take care of their family is bad enough for them to do this. And it's kind of scary when you see this many areas talk about the same thing over and over again, especially in India, the consistency of it. Here's another one. Heavy rains in Telangana, 6 die. I had to look this up. The rupees here is 1,000 or 100 crore. I'm not pronouncing that right, but in U.S. dollars, we're talking $1 billion worth of crops. 6 people died across Telangana. On Thursday, heavy rains wreaked havoc in the state. The rains also resulted in crop loss worth $1 billion and left Hyderabad city completely out of gear. 2 kids, 11-year-old and a 7-year-old, died after they were struck by lightning bolts. Although the unseasonal rains provided relief to some of the scorching heat, it did affect normal life, causing widespread damage to crops. Several trees and electrical poles were uprooted due to the thunderstorm. And this just goes on to continue on with the stats, but I just wanted to, I'm trying to paint a picture here, and it just seems like everywhere you look near India and the surrounding areas, we've got billions of dollars of crop damage, unseasonable rains, and the constant headline stories, unfortunately, about farmers committing suicide. So I just wanted to bring a little bit more attention to this as well. On to some volcano news. Actually, I want to save that for here in a second. Let's do this real quick. I went to No Trick Zone. There's two articles I got here. They're kind of hand in hand. And the No Trick Zone is talking about this surprise snowstorm that claimed 10 lives. By Monday morning, April 30th, after victims had failed to appear at the mountain shelter as planned, the manager of the shelter alerted authorities, who then launched a search and rescue operation for a total of 10 people, but it came too late. Now, they go on to talk about this storm that came in out of nowhere, and the media is blaming climate change. But here it says that this storm had been forecasted for days, and they knew about it. And science is now saying it's not man-made global warming or natural global warming. It's these crappy weather apps. And they literally, one headline actually read, they're getting people killed. Here it is. Weather apps are killing people. Weather apps often have resolutions that are so poor that locally they are virtually useless. In the image in the article, he compares the quality of an app, upper image, that is used by a professional meteorologist. Kachelman is boggled that people would think they could get good forecasts simply by entering a zip code. So, you know, the consensus here is that people don't have much faith in some of the technology in some of these weather apps. And I got to be honest with you, I don't know if you guys have any weather apps on your phone, but I have AccuWeather and Weather Channel, and there is always a discrepancy on temperatures. It always seems like 4 or 5 days out, I get one set of data from Weather Channel and I get another set of data from AccuWeather. So I'm going to have to agree with this article that there is a lot of crappy weather apps out there, and they are possibly causing people to lose their lives, not license. That too, if they're not around. Record snowfall, avalanches, and horror storms were all part of the picture from December right up until April, the end of April, when 10 people died. Again, they're talking about this snowstorm as well, and this is actually record-breaking for this particular area. Experts confirm Swiss winter broke records for snowfall, but it was only in the upper parts of the mountains. This was more in the higher elevations, not so much near the ground. It goes on to talk about most of the snow fell in the canyon of Valais, with the ski resorts of Zermatt both recording their highest snowfall in 70 years in January. The extreme weather resulted in Zermatt and several other villages being cut off from the outside world for days on end. And I don't know if you guys remember that. That was also right around the time where we had the global warming summit at that point, and basically they got snowed in. I'll leave the link in the description. What's up with that? CO2 just hit 410 ppm and all is well. It really is. Here is the alarming quote by Brandon Miller at the Clinton News Network. Says here that CO2, the #1 greenhouse gas leading to man-made global warming, sorry, I'm laughing, has reached a dubious new milestone. The level of the gas in the atmosphere, which is measured by instruments on top of Hawaii's Mauna Loa Observatory, it topped at 410 ppm at the end of the month of April. This is the highest concentration of heat-trapping gas ever recorded at observatory, where direct measurements have been taking place for more than 60 years, giving us a longest detailed record. Passing 410 ppm is important because it punctuates another milestone upwards march of CO2. Now, at this recent pace, we will hit 450 in a mere 16 years and 500 ppm in the 20 years after that. That's well within the dangerous territory for climate system. The last part says that's well within dangerous territory for the climate system. You read this article, and this person here basically can't wait for when the CO2 finally hits 500 parts per million, because nothing bad will happen. And maybe only then will people stop listening to these outrageous claims. But just thought I'd mention this as the joke of the day, really, that of course, Clinton News Network's going to support Al Gore and his Fantasyland tales. Now, some volcano news. Alaska Volcano Observatory has reported an explosion in small ash cloud emissions from Mount Cleveland. This was from Friday. Reported the ash cloud reached the elevation of 22,000 feet, is drifting to the southeast. According to the report, seismic activity was registered just before 10 p.m. on Friday evening. The recent activity resulted in the volcano's status being raised to orange. Additionally, 2.7 magnitude quake has been registered at the location at a depth of 31 miles at 6:02 a.m. Saturday, according to Alaska Earthquake Center. So I just kind of wanted to, and there's another one that I think has went off as well. I can't remember right off the top of my head, but we are jumping with activity, and not that this one's not an active volcano. This does, this is an active volcano. It's not that's been dormant or anything like that, but just trying to report on everything that's going on around us and trying to keep us caught up on the latest in Kilauea. Some amazing footage is all I gotta say. I don't think that we expected to see these pictures. This is stuff that you would see in a movie. We now have 11 confirmed fissures that are open right now. We have 30 homes that have been destroyed, and that was as of 4 o'clock UTC time today. Areas downslope of erupting fissures are at risk of lava inundation. The general area of the Leilani Estates remains at the greatest risk. However, the eruption progresses, other areas in the lower east, however, as the eruption progresses, other areas of the lower east rift zone may also be at risk. This is a very fast-moving situation, and this is unfortunately not the end. I want to show this one just really quick. Look at the magnitude that we're looking at, folks. This is a subdivision of homes. It's not like they're going to bring out bulldozers here next week and start plowing this away. This is new mountains, new rock being formed. Amazing. These look like scenes out of a movie. And these night scenes here where you just see lava. Here's the zone, actually, that we're talking about. This is where all the fissures are lying right now. Now, they've got 10 right here, but they're saying there's 11, so I don't know. Maybe there's another one they just haven't marked yet, but this is what we're looking at. These are the areas that are affected by it. Now, I don't know enough about these eruptions, but I know that they're concerned about the air not being very quality for you to breathe in. So my question is, we see this entire area of residential area. I can't find it. I was going to try to get my circle out, but guys, what I'm trying to figure out is why are we not evacuating this whole area for now, just to be on the safe side? I understand that there's a process to things, but you know, it doesn't sound like this is going to end anytime soon. I'm pretty sure that there are people who actually have taken matters into their own hand and have gotten a flight off the island. But here's some more remarkable footage. This is a nighttime East Rift Zone. This is May 5th, about 9:37 p.m. Fountains up to 100 meters. Here, I'll do this. Nuts. Insane pictures. Like I said, this looks like something out of a movie. I mean, there's just been so many video today. I've seen the video today where the lava, like this right here, was moving towards the street and destroyed a car right in front of its path. So we will keep you up to date on Kilauea, as it does not look like it's ending anytime soon. Here's the seismic activity that's been going on around. Of course, you see the big earthquake, the 6.9 there, the big orange one. But, you know, I also want to give a shout out to YT, or Volcano YT, here on YouTube. And they have right now the best coverage of the Kilauea volcano eruption, with earthquake charts and live updates with press conferences and a very knowledgeable moderation crew they have there to answer questions for any level, whether you're a novice or an expert. It seems like the guys they got in place over there know what they're talking about, from what I saw anyway. So go check them out if you guys want to see continuous coverage on the Kilauea volcano situation at Volcano YT on YouTube. And moving along, one more quick story here. Ankara flash flood, 6 injured as heavy rains cause havoc. This storm here, heavy downpours occurred in the Mamluk district of the Turkish capital Saturday, injuring 6 people according to the state-run. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is I can't believe only 6 people were injured. I don't know if you guys saw the footage. Of course, they don't have the video here. That sucks. Sorry, guys. I had some video footage I wanted to show you. These floods here, though, there were people sitting on top of their cars as people were filming the floods that were happening. There were people on top of their cars just floating down the streets because of how bad the water. And I can't believe this article actually doesn't even have the video here. But this little picture here does nothing. And the reason why you see, like, it looks like someone just threw up the cars in a bunch of pile here is the water was so rapid and wild that it literally just picked these cars up, no problem, and shoved them on down the streets. Again, I will try to bring you guys a video footage of that tomorrow. Maybe I can do a video about it because the footage is incredible. As fast as these waters are moving. And like I said, this is just a tip of the iceberg when it comes to what it left after it was done and over with. Again, I'll leave the link in the description for this. And quickly, I just wanted to touch base on some SST anomaly time series here. This is the North Atlantic, and we have had some warming and cooling off and on. But for the 4th time since the beginning of February, we have seen our values drop below the baseline. So I just kind of wanted to bring a little update. I know I haven't touched base with this in a little bit, but I did notice that it has dropped below baseline once again as it kind of rose pretty nicely over the last couple weeks. But we will continue to see this go up and down. This is not unusual as well. All right. Well, now I'm going to go ahead and take us into our GFS weather outlook here. And there's a reason why we have in the title, not looking good. I was sitting here going over this before we started. And I've got to be honest with you. I'm impressed. I've never seen the weather act so funny here in this outlook. And I know I've always talked about how you go any further than 5 to 6 days, you're really just guessing. But this Tropical Tidbits tool has been wonderful when it comes to forecasting all the weather that we've talked about this year so far in the Grand Solar Minimum channel, especially really since we relaunched the channel. So it's not like this is well off or way behind or overdoing it. It always seems to be pretty close as far as accuracy goes. Go ahead and get this started here. Hold on a second. All right, so I'm moving it here. We are looking at tomorrow. Pretty quiet day. The Dakotas will be visited with some rain. We got our next system coming onto the northwest system. Moves across the northern plains as we get into Thursday. So far, so good. Now we start to see this rain band that starts up all the way in New England and goes all the way back to the corner of the United States. It's pretty organized. It almost looks like a jet stream. And it's kind of ironic as well. You've got another rain band that kind of goes parallel with that one in the Atlantic and the Gulf. We'll be talking about that here soon. This is where the forecast starts to get a little weird. We get around the 12th, this coming weekend. Once again, we see that expanded rain band connecting all the way from New England to the northern Rockies up into Utah. Pay attention to the tropics as well, guys, because we got something going on down there by Florida. So far, 2 days in a row with nonstop moisture. Wave after wave after wave, as some would say. This is going into Tuesday. Now, I don't want to scare anybody, but from Saturday into Tuesday, so Saturday is your last dry day. You start seeing showers in southern Florida. That rain will go through all the way through Monday at least. And then again, we see more of these expanded rain bands that go from New England all the way back as far as New Mexico. And then it gets real tricky. Look at this. We got double rain bands parallel to each other, one in southern Canada and one going across the Tennessee Valley. North and south line here in eastern Texas. Not that the moisture isn't needed, but just a weird little setup. Now we move into early next week. And now we start to see a lot of moisture develop. Here's Wednesday of the 16th. Later that day into the Thursday into the 17th. Later midday Thursday the 17th. Look at all this rain that we have here. All the way from the Great Lakes down to Mexico. Let's move it forward just a little bit more. There's Thursday. So you think it's starting to wind down a little bit. Thursday night into Friday morning. And bingo, 35% of the country is covered in shower activity. Non-stop. Friday, we got this system out here in the northern plains getting bigger as well. So you've got pretty much everybody here in the east, south, and northeast getting drenched for a day or so. Then you've got another heavy batch of rain right behind it to follow up. So as soon as this duration of rain moves out, we've got another low pressure system that inundates the northeast, and once again they'll continue to see more rain, and this rain band stuff just doesn't want to go away. Here's the 21st. This is where it gets really interesting. We start to quiet down a little bit. Notice the double rain bands parallel to each other here in southeast United States and a little bit in Canada and the northern plains. This is the worst part of the forecast. What we're looking at down here. This is a hurricane, possibly. It is a low pressure system that's starting to get its act together, and the isobars are very tight on this. Now, I'm going to show you. This is actually, let me go backwards on this because I don't want to spoil the surprise. This is not your typical hurricane, folks. She's not forming from the Caribbean on the Atlantic side. Take you through this. Let's get all the way up to the part where we're looking at this. Now, Thor News talked about this hurricane on the 21st that he thought would be making its approach. And now they've got this thing pushed back to the 23rd, I'm sorry. But I want you guys to pay attention right here where my cursor is. Hold on, I didn't switch. I did, I just got to, okay, sorry. All right, this is important. Right here in this area. Near Central America, the Panama Canal area. Pay attention to that. There's going to be a low pressure system that's going to try to get its act together up down there. Right here. Pay attention. Right there it starts up. So we're on the Pacific side of this. Now watch where it goes. That's right. Moves across land and kind of gets caught right here in the Gulf. And if I'm not mistaken, that does look like a 987 millibars. So we'll have to keep our eyes on this in the coming days as this system really got its act together in a hurry. From here, you could see how wide the isobars are here at 998. And then just in one click to later that day on Tuesday, by Wednesday morning, we see it a lot tighter, a lot more organized. And it almost looks like right now, its current movement, that we could be looking at possibly an eastern Florida or western Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia type landfall. What I'm hoping for is that it doesn't continue to trek to the northwest and hit Texas and New Orleans. So there's areas along the coast that I'm sure that are still reeling back from Harvey. But I just wanted to bring this up, folks, because you know, we officially haven't started hurricane season yet. But that doesn't mean we're not going to see that freak early storm. And honestly, May 23rd isn't that early. In fact, it's going to be really close. This thing could stall out, and it might take until June 1st before it makes landfall. But I doubt it, as the GFS has it sitting in the very beginning of the Gulf of Mexico on the 23rd. But the concern really is going to be, is this storm going to intensify as if the GFS is suggesting it will? So we're going to have to keep our eyes on this one. We still got a ways to go. Today's the 7th. We still got a good 14, 15 days before we have to really start focusing in on that. But part of our motto here at our channel is to be prepared and be aware. So we thought it was important to bring this to you as hurricane season is definitely approaching us. Mari, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic, Jake. The chat's been
It's good to hear.
keeping me busy. The chat's been every time I talk, you pull the mic away. Okay, can I talk?
Go for it.
I forgot what I was gonna say. Well, okay. No, the chat is going good. They've been keeping me busy here. I mean, the chat is so random. It's everything from the weather to prepping to Nibiru to everything, Jake. It's amazing.
Well, other than the last part, those other two topics are valuable in any chat. I don't care what we're talking about. Well,
Got Rob in here as well.
Rob.
Good old Rob, yeah.
Good to see you, Rob. I always ask Mari how the chat's doing. You know, you never know. You might have that one weird comment that would make the show. And, you know, I'm a humorous guy, so I have a sense of humor. So I like to acknowledge anything too funny. And thankfully that we've got a bunch of well-behaved people in here, so I don't have to, you know, be mean to anybody.
We do have a gentleman in here who is trying to grow mushrooms on a dead log. And, you know, I did say that you're a fungi. Jake.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I don't even like mushrooms, so. Jeez. All right, guys, that's going to do it for our Monday report, May 7th, 2018. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. We'll talk soon, guys.